So, am I close enough? Oh, it's coming through. So here's another one which I started without actually recording. So it's kind of already in the midst of. Let me press play. It's already in the midst of me working through it. I don't really know what I was going for, but I took the AC Milan logo and I think I converted it to a smart object and start playing with the filters to get this kind of chrome look. So in the filter gallery there's plastic wrap and there's actually something called chrome, and the chrome one was on top and the plastic wrap was on bottom. I feel as if the order matters because I did reverse them and the look was different and didn't quite appear as I wanted it to. So I've kind of gone for this weird chrome look. This poster was for Brahim Diaz. I think he scored that day against Juventus, pretty good goal. So he was just kind of in my mind to be someone to use. You can see me here fiddling about trying to get him back on screen. Let's see what I do. I have a feeling I know what I do, but I was working incredibly slowly on this one because I had no idea what I was doing. Fast forward. Oh yeah, I struggled for ages to be able to actually save the project. I constantly get this message about scratch disk being full. I think because I have so much crap on my computer and I'm running too many pieces of software, so I frequently run into issues. So you can see me struggling, and I was probably moaning at some point. Tried to save it on the cloud and tried to save it on desktop as well. So I think eventually I just continued for a bit. Started messing around with gradient. Yeah, just the gradient, not the gradient map that's at the top of the adjustment layers. I was with it's gradient map I went for, not gradient fill. Just changed the AC Milan logo to this black and red, similar to Rossoneri colours. Then I also had another long period of using the gradient fill to try and make Brahim Diaz. So at the bottom you see he's got like a hard edge. I wanted to soften it up by using a filter, not a filter, a gradient where the alpha channel takes away some of the bottom a bit more gracefully. But I struggled for it felt like ages, maybe like 5 to 10 minutes trying to work out what to do. I'm not really going to dwell on it. And this is literally what I'm doing now, is me fiddling with the angle and stuff. Not even a clue what I'm doing. But yeah, I'm going to try to skip ahead because it does go on for quite a bit. Yeah, see, still doing it here. I couldn't work out why it's just making the entire bottom black. I tried to clip it, unclipped it, changed the angle, did all sorts. It just ended up looking kind of stupid. I feel like it's one of the very first things I learned in Photoshop, but here I am struggling with it. I even double clicked on the layer, got a notification. Double clicked on the layer to, what was I going to say? Yeah. I double clicked on the layer to use the gradient within the layer styles, which didn't work out either. So I think I eventually gave up and thought I'd focus on another part of the job. Not job, as if someone's paying me to do it, but this little project. So I thought I'd work on the highlights and shadows for Brahim, using 2 curves adjustment layers. One curves for I changed the blend mode to screen to do the highlights, and one I changed to multiply, similar to the last one, just to do the shadows, and then start going around where I think it'll be good to, I was going to say accentuate, I feel like that is the right word, accentuate the shadows and the highlights. And yeah, you can see it's a bit of a difference. He does look a bit more, the contrast is a bit different on his face and across his body, on his shirt and all that. Not my strongest suit, but I just practice as much as I can. Here I am again struggling with the gradient to try and make the bottom of him less sharp. Painful. So yeah, as always, I start to go for a texture, try experiment with a few, see if they make the picture look a bit nice. In my head, it's a bit of a cheat or like a lazy, almost cheat code way to do things. Just to give the, poster a bit more of feeling to it. Actually, one of this one that you can see on screen right now, I quite liked it in the end, but I didn't like it appearing over Diaz. Kind of felt like it took away from the picture. I just mess around and blend the most, see which one would work. I think because it's quite a light texture, that group in the middle, which I've gone past now, I think it has like lightened screen in it. That wouldn't work whatsoever. So I had to go for the section with overlay in it or the section with multiply in it, because they work on lighter textures. And then I mess around the opacity. I think I went for soft light in the end, which I think I go for quite often. On that, went for overlay, I guess. Mess with the opacity to see if it improves the feeling. And at some point, I don't know if I skipped it or if it's gonna come. I press Control and click on Diaz's wherever he is. Yeah, here. Click on Diaz, and with Control, it selects him, and I create a clipping mask with the texture I go for and invert it so that it's not over him. But here I'm currently trying to, I guess, make a much more interesting color for the background. This was kind of by accident, to be honest. I wasn't really going for red. I was trying to see if there's a color that will work with it. I should probably just get used to using RGB color wheels to pick colors, but because that will give me colors that work. But I seem to have a habit of doing a guessing game. So yeah, this red, it worked out fairly nicely. I thought it was a nice red, one kind of reddish purplish hue, and it works with the texture in the back. I'm working really slowly, not really sure what I'm doing, but I seem to be thinking a lot, which doesn't really pay off in the end. But oh well. Yep, see, again, still struggling with the gradient. I don't know when I realised, but I eventually go for a layer mask and do it on there. I'm even struggling up here, Jesus. Yeah, tried rasterizing it as well. No luck. Back to the gradient fill, even though I did it before. Trying to move the location of the midpoint, and even the darker side of the gradient. Still no luck. Then I even opened up a new doc to try and mess around with the AC Milan emblem, see if I could work out there and then come back to it. Still just basically doing the exact same thing. Jesus. Oh, here I eventually work out something which I don't think is perfect, but eventually kind of helped me achieve what I wanted to achieve. You can just press X to switch the color, and you see I freeze it once I realised, because I just think how dumb I've been to be messing around for ages. Wasn't quite perfect, but I guess it's better than the hard edge I had before. I went a bit mad. Oh, I missed that actually. So there's a technique I learned from another creator recently, is to, I guess, make a glow on your object. It's not a technique I perfected at the minute. I should probably revisit it to learn how he's done it. But basically, it's about turning the exposure down and then using hue and saturation and adding a colorize. Taking the colorize, inverting the mask so it's not showing. And in that point, before I've done that, I've actually picked the color I want and made it lighter and more saturated. And then I take a brush. I think I'll go for a soft brush or one with reduced opacity, and then start imagining where maybe a red light. So then in my head here, it's like coming from the top right, I guess, or at least the right hand side, and then go around the right side of his body. I'm not very good at picking where I should show this red hue, because it obviously won't just hit the right side, or hit maybe other sides of his body. But yeah, it's coming out a bit too strong. At some point I do go to the layer style and use the blend if. That's something I've learned about recently, which is very handy. It kind of allows, this is a very basic explanation, but there's much more in-depth ones, but it allows the texture underneath to show and making the light look a bit more natural, rather than just being a colour on top. I'll mess around the opacity as well, see if I can get it to feel a bit better. It's quite heavy on the face. I don't know what I've done wrong there, but I basically rub it out over and over again, trying to improve it. Oh, and before I get to that, I've gone forward a bit too much. I'm going to do a stamp visible layer where I press Shift Control Alt to Knee. It's like a flattened version of everything in the project without actually flattening all the layers. And I convert to a smart object and start messing around in camera raw filter, and kind of do the exact same, well, not the exact same, but the same sort of ideas each time. Mess around with exposure, contrast, highlight, shadows, blacks, and then add a fair bit of clarity, a fair bit of texture. Reduce the vibrance so it's not affecting his skin, and then up the saturation to get the colours back. Then go with curves. I kind of like to make the blacks like kind of greyish, so I pull up a bit. I don't know if I'm being kind of productive by then putting some more shadows in by messing with the bottom of the S curve, but I do that and then increase the highlights at the top of the S curve. Mess around with the colours. I've done a couple of AC Milan players. I quite like making the reds feel a bit pinkish, purplish, which is not their colour, but I just like the look. And then I did the yellows a bit, made the Europa League, which Liverpool will probably be in next year, and make that look a bit more orange. Then go to colour grading, mess with midtones and shadows. Mainly, I do touch highlights sometimes, but mainly the midtones and shadows. To kind of maintain that greyish look. Add a vignette. I don't know, there's two of them. There's one in effects and optics. I prefer this effects one. The optic, I don't know what that does. Should probably find out. That's pretty much it. Then go to add some noise, which I always do. Probably should try something a bit more interesting, but that's what I came up with. It's alright, just a bit of practice, late night practice, just to keep the skills going, and then struggle to save some more, I think. But yeah, that's all in all what I did.